In the previous tutorials, we've mainly been looking at objects and paths that were black and white only, or paths with a black stroke colour but no fill colour. In this tutorial, we'll start looking at colour and how we can use the fill and stroke indicator at the bottom of the Tools panel to see and manage colour on the objects. When I have an object selected, the fill and stroke indicator at the bottom of the Tools panel will tell me what the fill colour is and what the stroke colour is. As a reminder, the stroke colour is the outline colour and the fill colour is the colour that fills the centre of an object. The solid square shows the fill colour and the hollow square indicates the stroke colour. So if I select my first path, I can see that the stroke colour is black and there is a red diagonal line through the fill indicator, meaning that the path has no fill colour set. If I select the star object, I can see that the stroke colour is yellow and the fill is blue. And finally, my text object has a black stroke colour and an orange fill. Now admittedly, I can see this for myself without having to use the colour indicator in the Tools panel. However, if I double click on one of the indicators, it brings up the colour dialog window, showing me the exact colour values. If I want, I can use the colour picker to define a new colour, or I can enter exact colour values such as RGB to set a new colour. When I've finished, I can click OK. Whichever is on top, the fill or the stroke indicator, then that is the one that is active. So if I now want to edit the stroke, I double click on the stroke indicator and it comes to the front to tell me I am now changing the stroke colour. I have the ability to switch the fill and the stroke colour of an object around by clicking on this little icon here. If I want to remove the colour from either the fill or the stroke, I click on one of the indicators to bring it to the front, and then I click the white icon with the diagonal red line through it. You can change back to the default stroke colour of black and fill colour of white at any time by clicking on this little icon here. Now before we finish up, let's take a look at our final tool in this course, the eyedropper tool. This is a simple tool that allows me to take the fill, stroke and formatting options of one object and apply it to another. I've got two text objects on my artboard. I'm going to leave one selected, and then with the eyedropper tool I'm going to click on the other one. You can see that my selected text has taken on the characteristics of the other text object. You can use the eyedropper tool to copy and paste stroke and fill colours, including pattern fills and gradients, transparency settings and stroke weight from one object to another. In the case of text objects, you can also copy and paste their formatting, such as font type, size and weight. I can also use the eyedropper tool to push an object's formatting from one object to another. Let me explain. In the example before, I selected the object I wanted to change and then I used the eyedropper to click on the object I wanted to copy. If I hold down the Alt or Option key on the Mac, instead I can copy the selected object's formatting and push it to other objects that I click on. Select this star. And then with the eyedropper tool I'm going to hold down the Alt key and click on one of the other objects. They take on the formatting of my selected star. I can also use the eyedropper tool to pick a colour from a raster image that is placed on the artboard. This is a useful feature when you have an inspiration image you want to create a colour palette from. With the eyedropper tool selected, I'm going to click on the area of the picture. You can see that my fill colour indicator in the Tools panel has now changed to reflect the colour I just picked out from the photograph. As this feature only works with fill colours, my stroke colour indicator is set to clear. I can now use the eyedropper in conjunction with my Alt key to push this new fill colour onto other objects. Note that because I do not have a stroke colour defined, the existing stroke is removed from the object. So the last thing to look at in regards to the eyedropper tool is the settings. I can access the settings by double clicking on the eyedropper tool in the Tools panel. In the series of tick boxes on the left, I can define exactly what the eyedropper tool picks up, and in the ones on the right I can determine what it applies. The raster sample size drop-down allows me to define how many pixels are used to pick up colours in raster images. The default point sample essentially means that exact 1 pixel I point will be the colour picked up. You may want to change this to 3 by 3 pixels or 5 by 5 pixels to get an average colour across more pixels, which may be a more realistic representation of the colour you think you are choosing. And click OK to save your settings. When we get into panels in the next set of tutorials, we will learn how to save fill and stroke colours to a swatch palette for reuse and look at more advanced colour features such as working with gradients.